Hello my dear friends, I hope you all are doing good. This is Prashant Mauni and I warmly welcome all of you to StudyIQ. Today I would like to start with the cheerfulness, right? To carry a smile on your face. Particularly when I say carry a smile on your face, it's not about a physical smile, it is more about, you can say, a smile from within. Dear friends, I know and you should know it very well that it's not necessary that the job that we will do or we are doing or the studies or whatever work, right, we are doing, it's not necessary that all the time we would be enjoying that thing, right? You have ups and downs, and this happens with every single person on this earth. It has its own benefit as well. Anyways, the thing is, the most important thing is, even when you are feeling down, because the mood, right, mood is a thing that is utterly temporary, and you can in fact control your mood by doing multiple things. And particularly when you are not feeling well or when you are feeling a bit down, at that point of time, if you carry even a fake smile, right, if you try to carry that smile or wear that smile, then you will see that your mood will change as well. So give it a try, dear friends. This is, you can take it as a motivation as well, but I rather call it technologies that do really work. With this, dear friends, StudyIQ provides you with pen drive and tablet courses for different exams. Want to know more about it? Check out studyiq.com. If you have any question or queries, you have this numbers here, as well as you have chat support that is available on our website. Dear friends, I'm sure you know about this thing that there has always been a cutthroat competition between Shia and Sunni. This are two, you can say, division of Islam, and for the longest, you can say, from ages, right, they are having a cutthroat competition. And the reason why you have this picture is because the first editorial that we are going to discuss is pertaining to this country called Yemen. I'm sure now regular listeners, you know it very well that here you have two groups, right? One is a Shia group that is led by this Iran, and then you have Sunni group that is led by Saudi Arabia. And this portion of this world, or you can say Asia, West Asia, has always, it is facing trouble. Many wars have taken place here as well. So this is a bit of a rough area, though mind you that this area is very rich in oil, which is one of the most you can say lifeblood of the economy around the world. And it's not all about religion when we talk about the competition between Shia and Sunni. If you go through the things, or if you go back to their history, then you will find that religion, of course, is one thing, but apart from that, you have economic competition. Then you have competition for who is going to rule this part of the world. And the more you rule, the more you can cover. The more powerful you are, you can cover other countries, right? You can take them under your umbrella. Now, the thing is, dear friends, since 2012, this part of Yemen has faced some sort of chaos, right? Because it was in 2012 when the person that you can see on your screen, his name is Ali Abdullah Saleh, he resigned as a president of this country called Yemen. And India and Yemen, right, we have historical relationship with each other, and you can understand that any sort of trouble in this part will directly impact India, because the oil prices will go up. So in this context, this is a very important topic for you guys, right? So that's what happened in 2012. Now Saudi Arabia, as you can see on the picture here, is sharing a physical border with this country Yemen, right? And the thing is here as well, all the troubles, right? If you see all the issues that are going on in different parts of this West Asia, then you find even in Syria, the main issue is that on one side you have Iran supporting Bashar al-Assad, who is the president of Syria at present. And on the other side, you have Saudi Arabia and other regimes who want this Bashar al-Assad to step down. So they are, the Saudi and other countries, they are supporting the rebel groups, and Iran is supporting the president. And here you find the same thing, that Iran is supporting the rebel group, and Saudi Arabia is trying to support the president. So that's what is going on here in this part here. So I believe this is bit much more easier for you to understand the situation. So here you can see, right, it's written clearly given in this editorial as well that money and weapons are supplied by Saudi Arabia to anti-Houthi Sunni group, right? Anti-Houthi Sunni groups, and this Houthi groups are the group is a group that is believed that it is supported by Iran, right? So that's what is going on here. The other thing is that the sad thing is, see, for a very long period of time, Saudi Arabia is bombarding, right, the country of Yemen. And remember, we did a major operation as well. Our country did a major operation, and we have talked about it, that how we rescued so many people of our country from this port city Aden, as well as we rescued other people as well. And USA was very happy with us because USA was not able to conduct a rescue operation for its citizen, but India very well offered. India in fact helped other countries as well. So that was also considered as a big diplomatic achievement for India, because we were successful in persuading Saudi Arabia to stop bombarding for a certain period of time so that we can rescue our people and other people. So when this whole thing started, right, somewhere around in 2015 at that point of time. So this is a thing. We have many people living, Indian diaspora used to live here, right, in Yemen. And as you can see on the screen, that different parts of Yemen see here, this green portion is under this Houthi control or their influence, and Sana'a, which was a sort of capital, right, official capital of Yemen was Sana'a, but nowadays the temporary capital is Aden, because this is under this rebel control. Then you can also see this blue portion that is controlled by Al-Qaeda, right? And that's what happens if you observe in any country, right? Whenever you find any sort of troubles going on, then there are always this sort of opportunistic groups, right? They are ready, and many a times they find easy sponsorship and support as well, so from various countries. And that's what is happening. Good terrorism and bad terrorism you can easily see from this thing here. So that's what happens. They get support from different countries, and that's what they do. Once they control this portion, after that they will not give it back, and then you have another sort of problem, and the cycle goes on and on. And here you have a red portion, right? This, of course, this Aden as well is being controlled by loyalist of President Hadi. President Hadi was forced to leave Yemen. He flew to Saudi Arabia back in 2015, and since then there are this sort of issues going on in Saudi Arabia. Now, as I told you, that Saudi Arabia has been bombing this part, this Yemen, and it is not only Saudi Arabia. Most of the time we find that Western countries, right, America and other countries, they are ready to support this portion. But if you go back and see, right, what I think, and I would love to hear from you guys as well. This is just my observation, that what I have seen, that every time USA and other giant countries, right, when they step in, rather than providing a sort of solution, it is always, you can say, they exacerbate the pain, right? They will increase the severity of pain and trouble in any country in which you find this France and UK and this USA, these other countries, right? And then you of course cannot keep Russia outside, and when you have this thing, then you will have all this P5. China of course will also play a very active role. So this P5 members, rather than solving any issue, they are somewhere, right, they are also one of the main reason why we are not seeing a sort of peaceful world. As you can imagine, that the decisions are taken by 5 countries rather than United Nations together. Anyways, so there is a humanitarian crisis at present, right? Lots and lots of children are dying, and cholera outbreak is severe as well. Couple of weeks ago it was in news when a big ship, right, carrying all these medicines and other necessary items, reached this part of Yemen at that point of time, Saudi Arabia even didn't allow the ship to supply the things, and one of the main reasons why it took this tough stand is because it believed that by not providing this food and medicine and other things, the people, the rebels, right, will calm down. But there are innocent people who are being affected by it, and United Nations says that the world's largest famine is not far. We are on brink of it. Famine is a thing that you can say creates a sort of negative impact, of course, on the life of people like you and I, right? We live a normal life, but all of a sudden, due to political troubles, our life changes and we come into a state of this poverty and you can say helplessness, which is very sad. And lastly, I would like to add here that the problems are going to be a bit more severe, right? Because the person that you can see here, right, I told you he resigned. He was a president. He has been actually killed, right? Yesterday he was killed because he said that Mr. Saleh was killed. He said he was ready to talk with Saudi Arabia regarding the sorting out issue, and this Houthi fighters, right, they killed him. So you can imagine things are going out of hand. Right, now let's move on to another item, and this is about bail-in doubts. Bail-in and bail-out. You might have heard about this thing. If someone is behind the bars, right, in a prison, then you say that we want to, or I want to bail that person out. And then you have this thing called bail-in. Of course, when banks are not performing well, when companies are not performing well at that point of time as well, you hear this word bail-out. But what bail is all about? You know what bail is it? Bail-in is, because we have discussed about this thing a couple of days ago. It is pertaining to this Financial Resolution and Deposit Insurance Bill 2017. Now, this bill was introduced in Parliament in August, and what you can say, why this thing is published as or is printed as an editorial, because the thing is what this bill is talking about, or what it has, is that say for example, right, let's use a hypothetical or imaginary example. Say for example, you have 100 rupees and you have deposited your 100 rupees, right, in your bank, right, as a saving in your saving account, right? Now, why you deposit this 100 rupees in the bank? Because you don't need that money, A. The second thing is, a bank is of course a safe place for every one of us to keep our money there, and we also know that when we keep our money in the bank, then bank is going to use that money, and this money will be in when we deposit our money, or when we keep the money in our account, then of course it becomes part of economy, and it will be useful for the bank. Of course, we know the relationship between a depositor and a bank. We are bank's client, isn't it? We are bank's client. Now imagine you might have heard this thing, or see that say for example, if you are running a business, right, and now you might have earned this money from your business, right? Now you cannot, if your business is not performing well, right, you cannot charge, of course, extra money from the customer. You cannot say that my business is not running well, that's the reason the water bottle that I used to sell for 10 rupees, right, now I'm going to charge 15 rupees from you, because my business is not running well. The customer will think that you are gone crazy, isn't it? Now imagine the same scenario taking place here. Now, as a client, we are not involved in decision making of bank, right? We don't go to the bank managers and tell them that don't give loan to this person and give loan to this person, things like that. Not at all. We deposit money there. Whenever we need, we take the money back, and if required, we take this loans and things like that from the bank. But of course, you know that even there will be some conditions, right, that you have to fulfill before getting a loan from a bank. Now the thing is, just in case if the bank goes down, right, if the bank is not able to survive, then the loss that will be covered, right, will be covered from your from the deposits that you have made. So you can understand that it is very illogical, right? Now what will happen is it will create a sort of panic in everyone's mind. Imagine you have 5 crore rupees hard-earned money you have kept in your bank, right, after paying all the taxes and everything. Now the bank goes down, it goes insolvent, and then you will realize that you will get what, 1 crore, 2 crore rupees only. Your only mistake is that you have been a client of this bank. So this is of course not acceptable to anyone at all. And at present Mr. Jaitley has said that there are lots of corrections. He earlier as well, he said that work is in progress. We have not finally decided, or this thing is in front of this parliamentary committee, and it is looking after this thing. And the government has also said, or the finance minister has said, that the cabinet, that is the heart and mind of the government, will go through this parliamentary committee's report, and it will consider the report as well. Now the thing is, dear friend, there is also a law which is there since you can say 1993, and it is Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation, right? It was set up in 1960s. Sorry, it has not been revised since 1993. It was set up in 1960s, and what it guarantees, right? You will get at least 1 lakh rupees back, just in case if there is a sort of liquidation of the bank. Now you can imagine that 1993, 1 lakh rupees in 1993 was altogether a different amount, but today 1 lakh rupees is not carrying the same value that it used to carry in 1993. So of course the government has to change the base here, right? It has to change how we calculate. So this should be raised. 1 lakh rupees is not enough. So this is an important change that we require. The other thing is that a new resolution corporation under finance ministry will steer financial entities, right, out of woods. That means if any financial entities are facing any sort of problem, then this resolution corporation will help them. And there is a bail-in clause, right? Bail-in clause, that's what we were talking about. This is, of course, this whole process is also known as bail-in, rather than government injecting money, right? You are using the money of depositors rather than taxpayers. So keep this thing in mind as well. So this bail-in clause, right? The committee framing this FRDI law has noted that it should typically be used by continuing firms' services is considered vital, but its sale is unviable. So businesses, right, there are times when you will have to sit down and think that this business, if we sell this business, the business that has taken loan from us, which is not able to pay back the money, rather than selling this business, it is better to give some more money and make sure the business is running. Or you can have your own management. You will say that these are the people who are going to take over the management, and they are going to ensure that they will turn the position of this ship, and it will make it into a sort of convert it into a profitable business, and then the money will be recovered and things like that. So anyways, the bottom line is, dear friends, we know how hard it was for us to do this financial inclusion with the help of Jan Dhan. Demonetization was of course a very painful period, and we know that it has both of these things, right? Has its own benefits. So if we don't change, if the government is not going to change this deposit rule, and if this is the situation that is going to happen, then all the energy and time and money that we have invested in financial inclusion will go wasted. With this, let's move to third item. This is about one election idea is a farce. This one is a very important topic that we are going to discuss, and I would recommend all of you to keep this article. Of course, many of you would be downloading this file. You know that we share it on multiple platforms. But this one is particularly important because simultaneous election is a very important topic, and here you have main points that are against simultaneous election. Many times you may find a question, right? The question may ask you to criticize or critically analyze, right? You have to go against. Even if you think that simultaneous election is a good thing, depending on the question, you have to have both sorts of weapons in your pocket, right? You should have the yes one as well, the yes, go ahead with it, or the no, right? This one is a naysayer. So let's see. Recently Narendra Modi talked about 4 reasons why we need, right, this simultaneous election. Now these 4 points are given here, and the writer of this article, Praveen Chakravarti, he has explained why all the 4 points are not logical. The first one is massive expenditure. Now see, it's the cost incurred by election commission, right, in all states when it comes to election, right, in 5 years it spends 8,000 crore rupees. So that works out as 1,500 crore rupees every year, which is not that big money for a country like India. The second thing is that nearly 600 million Indians vote in India, and if you break it down, then you find that per person it will take just 27 rupees per person, right, per year, which is, again, you can imagine, not a big money at all for our country. And election expenditure is just 0.05% of India's total annual expenditure. So these are 3 strong points. You can remember these figures, right? And just in case if you find any question in your mains examination, then you can use this figure to argue that if you just say that massive expenditure is a false thing for India, India can afford it, that is right. But that is it is not carrying that much weight. When you add this sort of things, if you say that total annual expenditure, or you can say that election expenses are just 0.05% of total annual expenditure, which is not a big deal for our country, right? You can rephrase this thing. This is just a small example. You can say that it is just it works out just as rupees 27 rupees per voter per person per year, which is not a big amount. So this is how you add more weight to your answer, and these are you don't have to use all of them. You can use 1 or 2, and that should be enough. Second point is code of conduct and polls. Right now, this model code of conduct, MCC, is a thing that was you can say agreed, or that was acceptable, or all political parties came together in 1979 and said that we need to have this, because what it does is it prohibits the ruling party to come out with any sort of yojana or scheme and things like that after the date of election is declared. And of course you can understand that if your party is in power and if MCC is not there, then you will announce all these things at the end of election, and this will stay there in the mind, and it can have a psychological effect and things like that. Then the other argument that is been presented here is about cooperative federalism, right? The Prime Minister claims that India is all about cooperative federalism. Then more such projects will be undertaken by state, right? Rather than central government launching all these projects, it should be the state government that should be looking after all these projects. The second thing is that under the same topic is it is not the code, right? It is the solution is to reform the code and not the electoral cycle. I beg your pardon. And here it also talks about how the national energy is wasted. You can see that Prime Minister, right, he has to stop all his work and he has to focus on promotion, right? We know that he is taking tour of Gujarat. He has been there many a times, right? So you can imagine that important national leaders, they have to invest their energy, they have to stop their other work, and they have to use their energy here in promotion and things like that, which is again a waste of time. And we have also seen in West Bengal and Tamil Nadu in 2016's election that it didn't work, right? It didn't work. So this is the thing. The third thing is diversion of security and civil staff from primary duties. Now the thing is, how many times do we have election? Do we have it every month? No. At max we have twice in 5 years, and this sort of exercise twice in 5 years is not bad at all, right? It is not going to make that sort of huge difference. There are many people who are coming out with figures and things like that, but as per this writer, he's saying that twice in a span of 5 years is not a big deal. And the last item is about voter behavior, very important one. As per the research conducted by the writer, he has done research on this thing. If you go through this article, then you will read here that voters behavior, my research on simultaneous elections and things like that. So as per his research, what he has found that whenever you have simultaneous elections, right, the party that is in center will come in the state as well, right, both when you have this thing. So this is not a good sign. It is not a bit democratic. If this research is right, then it is something that is to be worried about. And if the elections are kept, if there is a distance, say for example today you have a central election, central government's Lok Sabha election, and after 9-10 months you have a state election, legislative assembly one, then the results could be different. But if they are within a week or the same day, then you can have mix and match result. So the last item that is here is about political autonomy. In our federal structure, right, the state is not inferior to the central government, right? They both are equal, state governments and central government. So when we take away this sort of power, say for example, when there are many times, if we go through constitution, then we find that there are some genuine times when we need to dissolve the assembly. And if at that point of time, if the state is not able to do this thing, then we are snatching away the power of the state government. So these are some of important, you can say, points that are against this simultaneous election. With this, dear friends, this is about Zheng and now. I'm not sure whether you know Zheng. Zheng is the person that you can see on your screen. It was in 1405, this China's most famous sea warrior diplomat. Best of both. He was a warrior as well as diplomat. His name was Admiral. Of course, at that point of time, they were not using this words Admiral, but now we call him as Admiral Zheng He. Now you can see here his travel. And one thing, if you observe from 1405, is that we are talking before Vasco da Gama, isn't it? We are talking before Columbus, and so this indicates that China was at that point of time, you can say diplomatically as well, very developed, as well as in naval power as well. You can see here this Zheng He took visit of different parts of Indian Ocean, and this part, right, he went to South Asia and West Asia and Africa and other different places. Of course, he visited India as well, Calicut and Cuttack. So here you can see at that point of time, Chittagong was also part of India, roughly speaking. So from 1405 to 33, this sea warrior as well as diplomat traveled different parts of the world, and he took with him some 300 ships, right, and 28,000 men. Can you believe this thing? 28,000 men. So this is a huge army. The other, or you can say navy. And the other thing is, recently why we have this thing in news is because Maldives, a country in Indian Ocean. Here is Maldives. Sorry for quickly changing the slide here. You can of course later on download and go through the slide. So here is Maldives. We know that Maldives is a very close neighbor of our country. It was in news a couple of weeks ago because of Saudi Arabia angle. We talked about that. It was that it has decided to sell it to Saudi Arabia and things like that. So Maldives has announced its free trade agreement with China, which is creating alarm bells, ringing alarm bells in India as well as different parts of the world. Now what Admiral Zheng used to do is that he used to carry gifts and goods to different parts. Say for example, he is for the first time he comes here in India. Let's take example of this Sri Lanka. He visits Ceylon, Sri Lanka, and he will carry gifts and things like that. Of course, you can imagine that if he's there for first time, then gifts and everything will sweeten the deal and things like that. And then he will go through your country, and he will come to know whether this is good or bad, and etc, etc. What is your political situation, military, and everything. And later on, there will be a proposal to accept the flag of Ming dynasty. That means you should become as a subordinate of Ming dynasty, and if you don't, then you will be taken back to China as a prisoner. And that's what happened with Veera Alkeshwara. He was a ruler of Sri Lanka, so he took him back. So that's what used to happen earlier on. And in 2005, China celebrated 600th anniversary of Zheng's voyage. And we have also heard about this string of pearls, right? We know how China is expanding its, you can say, its hubs in different parts of the world. With this Belt and Road Initiative, we know that it is creating this man-made islands as well in different parts of South China Sea. This is a rough picture of string of pearls. You can see it is building ports here. A couple of days ago we talked about this thing. I'm sure you know about Humban Tota. Gwadar port we discussed about this Gwadar port, and if you want to know more about it, check out Saturday's PIB analysis, in which I have talked about in detail regarding this thing, Gwadar port, and how China-Pakistan Economic Corridor is going to be the future, or what is going on with this CPEC. So this is a string of pearls, right? And it is a thing that is, this is Maldives here, number 11, which is very much not accepted or appreciated by India. This is about to stand up against torture. A special video lecture is available on this topic. If you haven't gone through it, I would recommend you guys to go through it. It is delivered by me. It is available on our channel. Check out our playlist, right, and see hot burning issues, right? UPSC hot burning topic issues, in which you will find it. It is available both in Hindi and English. Now, this Convention Against Torture, that is CAT, came into force in 87. India signed it in 1997. Since then, there are many countries who have agreed or signatories of this CAT, but India falls under the list of countries who have not ratified this thing. Sudan and other countries you have. Now the thing is, India has been promising every time, but we are not able to keep our promise. And United Nations High Commissioner of for Human Rights, he said that there is a big misconception. What you are doing, he was pointing to India, that rather than what you are doing is that you are saying that you will ratify it, and then there will be laws on it, this thing. Rather than that, it should be other way around. The state must enact legislation first and then ratify it later, so that it indicates that it is in line with international laws. And we need this prevention, because in our country it is easy to imagine all this sort of things that are banned are being conducted in jails, isn't it? And the new law is talking about rehabilitation, compensation, and witness protection and things like that. If we want to see ourselves as a world power, then we have to behave like one as well. And this is a biggest problem for us. Because of this thing, we are not able to bring back some criminals, because they claim in those courts that if they are taken back or sent to India, then they will be tortured. So this is a big hurdle for us. With this, you have a Bitcoin picture, a very funny picture of Bitcoin. And here Madhya Pradesh becomes the first state. Now we are entering into new zone. So Madhya Pradesh is the first state to pass a bill. And as per this bill, any person raping girls aged 12 or below will face gallows. That means a death penalty. The second one is about jackfruit, right? Tumakuru. The king of Tumakuru. Tumakuru is a place, jack of all fruits. So this fruit is rich in nutritive value, and it is a big source of income for farmers, because this MOU has been signed by IIHR as well as farmers, and this IIHR the scientists are going to multiply the saplings, and they are going to sell it, and 75% of the proceeds will go to farmers. Rajasthan's ordinance, lapses. Ordinance are, you can say, when the house is not there in session, then you use ordinance. And this ordinance was controversial because it was providing a sort of shield to public servant, as well as importing restrictions on the media. If you want to carry any sort of case or investigation then against any public servant, then you have to get a prior permission or clearance from the government. So this is something not acceptable in democracy. And how it works is that when you introduce this ordinance in the house, then you have 6 weeks time. If no action is taken on this thing, then it will lapse, so it will be out, right? Then Rajnath meets home ministers of West Bengal, Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram for these immigrants, illegal immigrants, Rohingyas and Bangladeshis. And Arun Jaitley has said that revenue intelligence officials are being given with huge amount of power, so they should use these wide powers discretionally. It means they have to apply their logic and their understanding. And he also said that until and unless the rate of prosecution and penalty will not go up, we won't see these offenders getting any sort of deterrent, right? If we want to stop them, then we have to ensure that the conclusion, we reach to conclusion of prosecution and penalty. And government is going to change, redefine employment. Now it is the need of the hour is to have proper data on MSME and informal sector. And last item that we have is Supreme Court has said we cannot keep the person who are affected by leprosy away from mainstream, right? Today it is curable, medicines are available, and there are 119 central and state laws that are in practice since 1950s that are keeping these patients out of mainstream. Today you have a very different type of question here. You have to identify the person that is there in the picture. Let's see if you can get it right. Then you have two questions here. One is, if Chief Justice of India is not available, then who will administer the oath of the office of the President? And what is MTCR, how it helps India, or what are the benefits for India in joining this MTCR? With this, dear friends, don't forget to subscribe. I will share the link, PDF link, as well as the video link as well for you guys. You can download it from my Facebook page, and do share it with your friends and other people as well. With this, I end this discussion. I will see you all soon. Enjoy your studies. Have a nice day. Jai Hind.